Hi, I'm Anna, and I live in the most amazing place on Earth. My parents moved to Alaska shortly before I was born. My dad started a company selling fish there. Mom was a housewife, and her only hobby for as long as I could remember was knitting. When I was a kid, she seemed boring to me, and I mostly spent time with my dad. We went out to sea together, and I always felt like we got each other really well.
Keep it up, kiddo.
When I was 3, Dad took me to a dog sled race that took place in our town each year for the first time. I immediately fell in love with the sport. I want to do that too! Whee! Look! I'm a real musher now! By the way, a musher is a person driving a dog sled. My parents threw a big party for my 10th birthday. I knitted a sweater for you based on a photo from a fashion magazine. Wow, cool.
Look, do you like it?
Wow, that's mushing clothing! That evening, I went for a sled ride. All of a sudden, a boy on a sled appeared out of nowhere and I almost collided with him.
Watch where you're going.
Wow, you have so many dogs.
They're huskies. My father breeds them for racing.
That's awesome. I want to be a musher when I grow up. See my clothes? Aren't they awesome?
Sure, just master tight turns first.
That guy's name was Tom. He said he and his dad had recently moved to our town from another city. The next morning, I brought a cake and came over to their place, which wasn't far from our home.
What are you doing here?
Greeting a new neighbor. Can I feed them too?
Go home.
I could clean up the enclosure. Do you want me to come over every day? At first, Tom treated me like an annoying little brat, even though he was only a year older than me. But soon enough, we became friends and even went to school together. He taught me how to look after and handle dogs. As I grew up, I realized that I had fallen in love with him. I even thought about confessing once, but Tom only saw me as a friend. Okay. Friendship is better than nothing. I'm gonna take part in the junior competition this year. Unfortunately, my parents were against it. They thought it was too dangerous.
I agree with them. Professional athletes take part in those races. Even I wouldn't risk it, even though I train every day.
You don't really like mushing, do you?
You know I want to get out of here. I'm going to get into college in another state and leave.
Just like Tom, I practiced a lot. I rose with the sun to go for a run every morning. I'm going to win that race. My life started to change the day a new girl transferred to our class.
Class, say hello to Cassie.
She looked like a model. All the boys immediately started to drool over her. I was no wonder.
Wow, look at her.
She also turned out to be very smart and scored the highest on the math exam. Unsurprisingly, the whole school was talking about her. Everyone's crazy about the new girl. Can you believe it?
You're in the same class, aren't you? Can you introduce us?
To my shock, my friend fell for her too. I tried to change the subject, but he wouldn't let it go. I liked Tom and was terribly jealous. So please don't judge me for what I did next. To be specific, I spent the following week bullying Cassie. I edited her photo, printed it, and spread it all over the school. Look at this beauty. One day, I played a childish prank on Cassie and put chili sauce into her sneakers. Will my feet finally be warm now? No matter what I did, Cassie just laughed about it and stayed positive. In the end, I had to admit that she was a great girl. Is it just me, or have you been following me lately? You know, I've only ever been friends with boys and dogs, but now I've realized that I would love to have a friend like you. I like your directness. Are you Mr. Harrington's daughter? Do you know him? I don't, but my mom does. They're business partners. We even moved to Alaska so they could work together. That was weird. Dad never mentioned her. When I asked him about Cassie's mom at home, he confirmed her words.
Julia and I are business partners. I'm going to invite her and her daughter for dinner soon.
The next day, I told Cassie about it, and Tom overheard our conversation.
Are you two friends now? That's perfect.
I didn't become friends with her for you, and I'm now going to introduce you to her. But Tom didn't take no for an answer, and kept trying to hang out with us whenever I was spending time with Cassie. When we came to a cafe, he followed us there and sat down at the next table.
Hi, girls.
Next, we ran into each other on the street.
What a surprise.
He was getting on my nerves, but Cassie thought he was funny. I've been meaning to ask you for a while now. Are you two just friends? Yeah, Tom is my best friend. I didn't tell anyone about my secret crush, not even her. Soon, Dad invited Cassie and her mom for dinner, as promised. The dinner was delicious, thank you, especially the roasted duck. I'll tell you the recipe if you want.
Julia isn't interested in stuff like that. We still need to talk about work.
At some point, Tom suddenly came over.
Could you return the book I gave you a few months ago?
A book? Yeah, right. You were only there to flirt with Cassie. Will you stay for dinner? Mr. Harrington, do you mind if Tom joins us? I soon noticed that the two of them were spending a lot of time together. Tom even showed her his dogs. That hurt because I used to be the only one who was allowed into the enclosure. I think I really like Tom. He asked me out on a date, and I said yes. That's great. Congrats. At first, I was mad at Cassie, but then I realized she hadn't done anything wrong. If they like each other, there's nothing I can do about it. I should should focus on the race. Are you alright? You've been kind of distant lately. I'm fine. I've just been practicing a lot. I also noticed that Dad was acting a little weird. We used to spend a lot of time together, and now he was hardly ever at home.
I have too much work to do.
One day, while jogging, I saw him and Julia in a cafe. Dad usually eats breakfast at home. Are they discussing work again? Then I saw them at the mall. It was getting a bit suspicious. One day, Cassie got sick, and our teacher asked me to bring her homework. Dad, what are you doing here?
Julia, we'll discuss the project later. I've got to go.
What's going on between your mom and my dad? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, with or without you. Okay, your dad comes over a lot. I think he's cheating on your mom with mine. Even though I already suspected it, it still came as a shock to me. How could my dad, who I'd always thought was perfect, be a traitor? At first, I still thought there could be another explanation, but then I followed him and caught him red-handed. I didn't know what to do, or if I should tell Mom. Then one day, I was woken up in the middle of the night when I heard shouting. I tiptoed to my parents' bedroom and heard them talking. How could you do that?
I'm sorry, but I want a divorce.
I was terrified. Despite everything, I never thought that my parents would separate. Dad left and Mom burst into tears. I felt terribly sorry for her. She didn't deserve to be treated like that. I was in for an even bigger shock when I came to school the next day. My mom and Mr. Harrington are going to live together. What the heck? Aren't you upset? I just want my mom to be happy. Cassie's words pissed me off, and we had a fight. She was dating Tom, so I stopped talking to him too. I can have a house in Arizona. My parents left it to me. I'm going to move there, and I want to take you with me. My whole life and the job of my dreams were in Alaska, but I didn't want to live with Dad anymore and couldn't leave Mom alone. Before we left, Dad tried to talk me out of it. Leave me alone. I don't want to see you again. I burst into tears on the plane, but promised myself to start over and build a new life. Arizona turned out to be the exact opposite of Alaska. It's so warm here, even in winter. There's also plenty of daylight here. Getting used to my new school was hard. My classmates were wary of me and asked me a lot of questions about life in the north. I miss the snow and the dogs. To earn money, Mom started to knit custom-made clothes and bags. Look, the beach bag came out really well. One day, she got a big commission and got paid a lot for it. Let's go shopping. I hated shopping, but Mom looked happy for the first time in a long while, and I couldn't bring myself to say no to her. Try this on. You're so fit, you should wear something that will show off your figure. The next day, I came to school in new clothes. It wasn't something I'd usually wear, and my classmates didn't even recognize me at first.
Wow, look at her legs.
I didn't realize Anna is so pretty. Before I knew it, I had a ton of admirers and became as popular as Cassie, but I wasn't happy about it at all.
Do you want to hang out with me after class?
I'm sorry, I already have plans. Whenever someone asks me out, I think of Tom and get mad at myself for it. I still jogged every morning to stay fit. One day, when I came home from a run, I saw a broken mug on the floor, and then I saw my mom. Mom, what happened? Anna, I'm calling an ambulance. My mom was diagnosed with a rare disease.
She needs an expensive surgery.
Can I see her?
Visits are forbidden. Your mother needs to rest.
The money we had was enough for a month's stay at the hospital, but it wasn't enough for the surgery. I didn't know what to do. A few days later, Dad came for a visit.
I got a call from the hospital. Anna, you can't live by yourself. Come back to Alaska with me.
I'm not leaving, Mom.
It's not like there's anything you could do to help her here. Leaving's what's best for everyone.
I suddenly got an idea. The sledding race was only a couple of weeks away, and the winner was going to receive a large cash prize. I'm going to win that money for Mom. Of course, I didn't tell Dad about my plans. When we arrived in Alaska, I found out that Julia and Cassie had moved into our house. I had to share a room with my former friend. I hope there's still room for my stuff in the closet. Don't be mad. Look at how happy our parents are together. My mom is in a hospital, and she's the furthest thing from happy. The next day at school, I ran into Tom.
Anna, you've changed. I like your new look.
I was pleased to hear it, but tried to hide it. Careful, you have a girlfriend.
Actually, we're not together anymore. I just saw her with another guy.
I'm sorry. I guess she's just like her mom. Next, we met while jogging in the evening.
I'm practicing for the race.
You've never been interested in that.
I need to win and get the money to move to another state.
Tom suddenly stopped and looked into my eyes.
I'm sorry I've been a fool for so long. You're the only one who's always understood me. You're amazing, Anna.
When Tom kissed me on the cheek, my heart started to pound. I couldn't believe it was really happening. exciting! From that day on, we started to prepare for the race together.
You know, if I win, I'll give you the money for your mom's surgery.
Thank you. That means the world to me. The night before the race, I was sorting out my gear when Cassie came up to me. Are you going to participate? It's too dangerous. Why? Are you going to tell Dad? To my surprise, she didn't rat me out. The race was going to last 2 days. Before the start, all the participants were given maps with all the places we were supposed to stop at. A few seconds before the start, my dad noticed me, but it was too late. Things were going well at first, and I quickly got to the first stop. The second one was in Rayburn. While I was on the way there, a terrible snowstorm began. Come on, guys, we've got this. Soon I couldn't see anything in front of me. I got lost because of the snowstorm. At some point, my sled skidded and I almost fell into a gorge. It's too risky to drive further in this weather. I had to find a cave and wait until the snowstorm ended there. It was freezing. By morning, the weather had stabilized. When the sun rose, I used it to figure out which direction to go in and finally reached the next stop. Hannah, thank God! Dad organized a search party, but they couldn't find you. I was so mad at myself for letting you go. Were you really worried about me? I know we haven't got along lately, but if something happened to you, I would lose my mind. The rest of the participants managed to get to the second stop on time and had long since moved on. I had to withdraw from the race, as there was no point in chasing after them.
How could you be so reckless? You didn't even warn me.
Because you would have forbidden me from participating, and I wanted to win money to help Mom.
Do you really think that badly of me? Although your mother and I got a divorce, it's not like we're strangers now. Julia and I have already paid for your mother's surgery a long time ago.
But you left her anyway.
We are too different and had been living like strangers for years. I simply didn't have the courage to do anything about it for a long time.
All my anger suddenly vanished. At that moment, I forgave him. Tom took first place, and I came up to him to congratulate him. I wanted to tell him that my dad had already paid for my mom's surgery, but then...
Hey, about the prize money, I can't help you. Move to another state with me. Your mom would only be a burden anyway. You need to think about your future.
I looked at Tom and realized that I didn't know him at all. Good luck with that. Forget my number. We've known each other for years. How could I be so wrong about him? He's very good at pretending. When we were a couple, I saw him with another girl. That bastard! That's not what he told me. I'm glad he's leaving. I hope we won't hear from him ever again. I still like mushing. Dad even bought me my own dogs. I'm going to prepare for the next race and win. Dad and Julia are doing well. Our relationship is much better now. I'm living with them in Alaska, but I often visit my mom. By the way, she's dating her doctor, and she's happy too. Cassie and I are as close as blood sisters, but after that whole mess with Tom, I don't trust boys anymore. How can I change that? Do you have any ideas?